Well, the new IBM global survey of CEOs has found that less than half believe their enterprises are adequately prepared to handle what is now a volatile and increasingly complex business environment. The survey included more than 1,600 firms in 60 countries with 22 participants from New Zealand. IBM's New Zealand Managing Director, Jennifer Moxon, joins me now. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
This seems like, well, not a lot of CEOs who think they can cope.
Yes, what we found is that 8 out of 10 companies on a global basis anticipate greater complexity in leading their organisations. However, less than half feel that they can actually, or feel that they're in a position to be able to cope with this. But also, what was interesting was here in Australia and New Zealand, it was actually 39% of CEOs felt that they were in a position to deal with the increased complexity.
So what's driving this? Why are they finding it so difficult?
Well, a couple of things are increasing the complexity around globalisation and I think the shift in economic power to the emerging economies as well. What we did notice is we looked at some of the standout companies in terms of financial performance, and they're doing things quite differently, i.e. they're looking at making greater changes to their business model. They're continuing to innovate and use imaginative ways to actually lead their people.
That's interesting, though, you say that focus, the shift towards the Asian economies, because yes, presumably there are different cultural practices, different way of doing business that they have to get their heads around.
Yes, and that's what's leading to the greater diversity. I mean, the focus around what companies are doing to create competitive advantage is all around simplifying their operations. And in fact, the survey told us that only 36% of the ANZ CEOs actually interviewed are focusing around simplifying their operations. So a lot of the standout companies are really focusing on those aspects which are going to be able to create competitive advantage.
When you look at ways to help, can technology help? And I guess also choosing the right people around you must be a big factor as well.
Yeah, one of the leadership competencies that emerged as a key differentiator was the focus around creativity. And I talked a little bit about, continuing to innovate with a client. So you're right, the creativity element is an important leadership competency, but also the ability to be able to enable the technology to create competitive advantage through your business model is what a lot of standout companies are doing these days.
Technology, can that also help in terms of reading your customers, knowing what your customers want?
Yes, it was interesting in terms of client intimacy. What we found here locally in Australia and New Zealand across both public and private sectors, 91% of CEOs told us that was one of their greatest priorities, is to get a lot greater intimacy with their clients. And that was a lot higher, actually, than the global average. So technology is an enabler to be able to address the focus around client intimacy.
I wonder if it's also a bit terrifying as well, though, because, I mean, social media and the way things move so quickly, you could easily lose a handle on your customers.
Yes, I think, though, there are many tools out there that really allow you to get greater intimacy, and it's all about how you change your business model to reflect what the real needs of your clients are these days.
Overall, do you think given past surveys that CEOs, the global recession, the financial crisis has had a big impact on their thinking?
I think what the global crisis did was a lot of people looked inwardly in their organisations. So what we saw is that a lot of companies who financially performed pretty well continued to innovate, continued to focus on simplifying their operations and continue to make quite significant changes to their business model. And as a result, they've come out a lot stronger.
Jennifer Moxon, thank you very much from IBM.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Corin.